Welcome back to Keystones expedition, an expedition where I am traveling through Africa to find stories around ecology and social systems and really trying to engage with consciousness around these subjects, specifically ecology. If we don't raise our awareness around ecology, the Earth's going to be seeing some issues in the future. And my next podcast here in Mahale National Park, I'm here with Butati in the beautiful forest. Butati, please just introduce yourself, a little bit about where we are, and yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Again, my name is Butati, chimp guide here at Greystoke Mahale in Mahale Mountains National Park. We just nested within an evergreen, lush green forest known as Kasoge Forest, where we have at least 76 chimpanzees that are tamed to human encounter. So if you happen to go out there, you'll get so close, up and personal with those chimpanzees. And so we're basically on the shoreline of Lake Tanganyika, the western side of the Tanzania. And so the place is amazingly beautiful. The combination of the lake and the forest and the presence of the chimpanzees make this place a paradise of its own. So this is Mahale, and welcome you all to Mahale.
Awesome. It's so, I mean, I've been here for 24 hours now, and it's just incredible. And let's try and paint a picture for everyone. So if you had to see where Mahale is on a map, how would you explain it?
Like, it's just very much to the very west of Tanzania, in comparison to Arusha, where most of the people are aware of, like north, eastern, or directly north of Tanzania. So you cut across the country to the very, very western side of the country. It's just border Congo. So ideally, if you're just standing on the beach and the lake is not haze, clear day, you get to see the mountains on the Congo side across Lake Tanganyika. And so that's where Mahale is. And it's just a peninsula in the middle of the Lake Tanganyika, which is the longest lake in the world and the second deepest lake in the world after Lake Baikal of Siberia, Russia.
Okay, so it's the second deepest. Okay, let's start talking ecology. I'm excited. So the lake is home to so many endemic species, and if you could start with what an endemic species for anyone who doesn't know, and then kind of just go into sort of the original, what is so unique is the word I'm trying to look for.
Yeah, so the lake has got a very unique wilderness, as it's one of the oldest lakes in the continent, dating back to 10 million years ago when it was formed. And the lake has got one family of fishes that has got more than 200 different species, and this is the family of cichlids, which has got so many endemic species in itself. Like 98% of these fishes are endemic. For people who don't know what endemic species is, these are species that are only found in one place, in that specific place, and wherever you go anywhere else in the world, you don't get to find them. So these are species of fishes that are only in Lake Tanganyika. And it's a group of fishes that are very famous to the world of aquarium because they are favored by the people who are in love with aquarium because of how they can just survive some harsh environments, but also they've got some very unique behaviors. Some can easily display some parental care, and yeah, so ideally they are very, very unique fishes, and they're very colorful. And the largest as well as the smallest cichlid in the world are found in Lake Tanganyika, which makes it a very unique lake with some crystal clear water. We even say it's like as clear as gin, where in some places the visibility of the lake can go as deep as to 20 meters. So it's a very, very amazing lake that we have. So it's a very unique biodiversity that we have in this lake. And yeah, so there's so much, and it looks like an ocean to some of the people. If you just look at it, it's very much like an ocean. So and the fishes are of great importance to the ecosystem of the lake because they feed so many in the ecosystem of the lake. like from humans to crocodiles to snakes to terrapins and the likes, otters, you just name it. So much is depending on this ecosystem of Lake Tanganyika.
Can you talk a little bit about the sort of the relationship again, maybe just going a little bit deeper in what you're saying about the ecosystem of the water and the rainforest, and sort of how are they kind of talking to each other?
Yeah, so they just depend on each other for a great deal. For example, I'll give an example of Mahale, where we have a microclimate of itself. So the rain of Mahale is very much influenced by the presence of lake. So the water and the warm air from the lake coming with all the moisture is what contribute to the more rain that we're getting into the area, although the forest itself is generating its own rain. But the good thing about it is the forest is just acting as a barrier for water runoff, which prevent the soil runoff, which could easily create siltation into the lake. So to me, with my observation, the water in the lake inside the park and the water of the lake around the village side, they're totally different. You'll see a lot of siltations in the village side where there's a lot of destruction of the ground cover. So trees have been chopped down and people are engaging very much in farming, which you can totally understand. But an influx of now cattle and other livestock, then there's a lot of runoff where there's so much soil in those areas, and even we're getting a lot of issues, especially now with the issues of human-wildlife conflict in the form of crocodiles' attack on humans, which you hardly get those kind of stuff inside the park, although we are taking precautions for people not to swim from the shoreline, but still it's much safe because the lake is so clear, with the water is so clear. But in the village side, you need to go a little bit far out to be able to experience that clarity of water of this lake. So there's a direct correlation. And now, because of the increasing impact of human influence on the areas surroundings, from agriculture, from livestock keeping and expanding human settlements, now we are getting a lot more water runoff, which is a result of now we are experiencing the rise of water in the lake than we have ever had in the last maybe 100 years. So the water level is getting higher and higher, and that is very much directly linked to the increase in rain, but also the destruction of forest on the shoreline along the shoreline of Lake Tanganyika.
Okay, that kind of brings in a nice big broad subject of climate change and sort of its effects in this part of the world. It's so hard to put your sort of fingers on climate change. A lion can be like roaring at you and you can see the direct fear there, right? So how do we understand the fear of climate change for people that live around here? Like what?
Yeah, now almost everyone living around the shoreline of Lake Tanganyika, if you talk to them about the climate change, I guess they will be able to understand a bit more than people who don't live close to Lake Tanganyika. Although there's a lot of evidences, but there's so much that is happening that almost like people have lost in most of their properties in form of housing, like the places where they live. So people have lost their houses. People have lost their farms, which were close to the lake. And, people are now keep on being pushed up towards the mountain. Even inside the park, if you talk to anyone about the change of climate, there will be the witnesses. Now camps are just like, Mahale has got 2 lodges, and one was completely submerged, like underwater. And ours, which is Greystoke Mahale, the big part of it was also underwater. Even the mess area has to be pushed back for us to be able to operate this season. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be subsiding anytime soon, because with the current trend is And the normal routine has always been we lose 1 meter of water in the dry season and we gain 1 meter of water in the wet season. But now we are receiving more than 2 meters in every rain season and we're still losing that same 1 meter, which makes it that the lake is now invading the shore more than it was in the past. At the airstrip, we are losing the big chunk of our airstrip. So now I would say the airstrip, Mahale airstrip, is reduced to maybe 1,000 meters, while it was like 1,200 meters. So we have lost almost 200 meters of the shoreline, and it seems like we'll keep on losing a bit more because the water has not subsided enough to just reassure us that the airstrip will survive next season. So,
so there's issues here, and yeah, it's a very complex one because I guess humans are involved in the process of increasing the impact of what happens here. So in terms of climate change, maybe let's talk a little bit about sort of the communities around here and sort of the conflict of these rainforests. What communities actually exist around the park?
The original community that was around the park were the Tongwe community, which normally there were not that many Tongwe. You know, Tongwe are such a very small tribe, and they don't live in big villages because, you know, they tend to live scattered lives, like community, like clan groups. Like maybe one family will have their kids and stay in one place, and then you know, maybe 500 meters away there will be another clan. But now, you know, with like we're always asking for development, and development comes with its consequences. So in prior to the recent years, there was never any road connecting this place with the nearby town Kigoma. The only way and means to come down here was by the lake. So you either get on the boat, wooden water taxi, or there was this old German ship, Liemba, that was just going up and down the lake. But now the government has put up a road which connects the areas around Mahale, north and south of Mahale. So now we are getting a lot more people who are not of this origin, of this place. So because they feel like there's a lot of more potential within the area for agriculture and livestock keeping. So now we are getting more and more people for business and even settlements. So the more the people we get, they are coming here with the different background. So it's hard for them to live the life of the Tongwe people who were very respectful of their nature, as the practices of the Tongwe was very much more ecological, as although they rely on natural world, but they were a very small community and everything was very much calculated, and some of their practices, like how do they bury their chiefs, they will do that in certain segment of the forest, and that forest will completely be protected because that's considered to be a sacred area. And there was only one person from that community of Tongwe who was allowed to visit that forest, and no one from that clan were allowed to go into that forest to do any kind of activity. So those forests remained as primary as it was, like they remained natural, because for them it was considered as a taboo or a bad omen to visit those forests if you're not the person authorized to go into that forest. So they ended up protecting some of the forest. So some of the waterfalls were considered to be sacred, where they could just do some of their spiritual work over there. So this helped the Tongwe people to be conservationist in nature. And they did a little bit of hunting, but it wasn't major hunting for commercial. It was just hunting for subsistence needs. But also they did a little bit of farming, which was mostly shifting cultivation. So they'll cultivate in one place. After maybe 5 or 6, 10 years, if the land starts getting depreciated, the nutrients, they will move into a new area, leaving that area to regenerate. And when you give nature a time, it always recovers. So that was the practices of the Tongwe, and they were not doing some big fields. It used to be a small fields, and for them, forest has always been one of their important treasure, because they could get some medicinal values from those plants, because of their knowledge of the environment and the plants. They knew what to go for when they've got a certain problem, like if they've got a toothache, what to go for. If they've got ear problems, then they know what to go for. Stomach upset, you name it, fever, just so much that they entirely dependent on the forest. So how could you chop down your treasure, your important treasure in your life? You cannot take away your medication and hope to survive. So that has been the practices of the Tongwe. But now there's a huge mixture of different tribes. So now we're getting a lot more people from different background who doesn't care about what the Tongwe value. So it's becoming a bit of an issue, and Tongwe has never expanded, and now they're experiencing some issues because there's intermarriages. So we are no longer getting a generation of the pure Tongwe. So it's a few that are marrying between the Tongwes, but now there's a lot more who are marrying other tribes. So their generation they're making is going to be a generation that doesn't embrace the Tongwe practices and values.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think those sort of cultural and sort of insights are big. What do you think is how do we solve that? Like, maybe it's not to be solved, but how do we engage with that problem? How is maybe your community engaging with that problem with other tribes? Is there some sort of communication?
It's very hard, Tongwe, as I said, it's a very small community, and they've been devoid of educations, because there has never been a good education system within the area, as it was very remote. As I said, road network has just came into the place not long ago, and as soon as the road networks came into the place, there's been influx of people from different backgrounds. So the government has never been able to just create an environment suitable for the Tongwe people to embrace their own values, to stay as one community, just like the Maasai are doing within the Maasai communities, where they can just stay as Maasai, intermarriage between, like marrying within the Maasai community, but also getting some educated Maasai who could just advocate the issues that are regarding the Maasai themselves. But the Tongwe people have never been like that. So it's either the government step in and help try to just link what the Tongwe used to be. Like, they need to ask themselves, how did the Tongwes live within this area without making a huge impact to the environment around, and maybe try to say, okay, this is how we need this place to be utilized from now onward. Otherwise, letting everyone coming in free, which is we understand it's a free country, but when it comes to conservation issues which threaten the existence of a species that is very unique to the place, but also maybe the overall climate change and global warming, I'm sure the government should do something. We should not wait until maybe the international world to be able to teach us or tell us what we supposed to be doing. As a government, they need to start being active, like proactive than reactive of situation, or being told what not to do or what to do. So it's not like they don't know that Mahale and areas around Mahale is the stronghold for chimpanzees population, but most of the efforts done within the area are done by international conservation organizations, and maybe very few local conservation organizations, and a little bit nobody is trying to get involved and by supporting these forest communities, community forestry, sorry. And so to me, it has to be the government with the voice to say, this is what we need to do way forward. Because the Tongwe themselves, they don't have that power to say this is our land, this is how we want it to be done. Okay, although they can just give opinions, but they are not. They don't have the mandate to say we don't want any more people to come into our place. So to me, it has to be the government deciding that we need to fully be like devoted to just put our efforts into protecting this area before it's too late. Because the more we wait, the later we get. So if it's too late, and for a species like chimpanzees, they entirely depending on their habitat. Once you destroy their habitat and you put them down to the ground, then you hardly can recover their population.
Yeah, that's great. I think the systemic issue of how we as humans govern ourselves in these ecological landscapes is, yeah, I really hope someone in a political position might listen to this, to hear that. That's a nice little segue into chimpanzees too. Like, let's talk a little bit about the chimpanzees, preserving these habitats. Yeah, how many chimpanzees are here in Mahale?
In Mahale, we have roughly about 700 chimpanzees, plus or minus. These are just population estimates. They just occur in 10 different communities. And the community that we have habituated, fully habituated, it's the community that is known as M community. There used to be another community north of the M community. Around the area that we went to see the chimpanzees this morning, that is like close to an overlapping area between these two communities. But the other community was disintegrated after losing all its males from intergroup conflicts between the M group and K group. And now there's another community of chimpanzees that has just taken over the area that was originally occupied by the K group. And now the park management is trying to do some efforts to habituate that group. So in total it's 10 different groups, but only one is fully habituated, and the other one is maybe 2 years in habituation process. So we still got a long way to go for us to be able to have two communities of chimpanzees that are fully habituated. Although it takes some time with the current means of habituating. Now it's just you expose yourself to the chimpanzees, they see you, they run, until they lose fear of you by just exposing yourself to the chimpanzees. In the past it was easy to habituate them, although it was still a little bit hard, but you can easily tempt them with maybe bananas or sugarcane. That made it easier for them to fully habituate the chimpanzees, but that's not something that we can do right now. So with that number of chimpanzees, we are saying that we have at least the most of the chimpanzees, and they are doing so good, and they are just doing an amazing job of keeping the dynamic of this forest by spreading trees to different parts of the forest, like getting trees from higher reaches of their territory into the lower reaches of their territory, because for the chimpanzees, anything they eat, they don't crush the seeds. And when they poop, these seeds germinate into fully trees. So this is very helpful for the dynamic of the forest in general.
And you've been working with them for how long?
Now it's almost close to 15 years.
Your dad was working with
My dad started working with the chimpanzees. So I'm a second generation working with the chimpanzees here in Mahale. So my father is one of the very, very pioneers of people who worked with the chimpanzees here at Mahale. So he started back in 1965 together with the team of researchers from Kyoto University, Japan. So he worked from the scratch, and he was like one of the main men. And the founder of this research project here in Mahale, the late Professor Toshisada Nishida, nicknamed my father as principal because of how much knowledge, of the amount of knowledge he had of the chimpanzees, the forest, and the plants, that he taught so many people that worked here in Mahale, from the senior researchers and to the local field assistants. So he was like the teacher for them. So that's why he nicknamed him as principal, like the head of like a learning institution.
Wow.
And when I was growing up, I was wondering, hearing people calling him principal, and I was like, why do they call him principal? I didn't know the meaning of principal until when I realized it was because of that. And yeah, so.
That's epic. Okay? So
Yeah.
he's really been, like, in a way, an inspiration and a sort of model for your development as a guide here.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, like I learned so much from him. I learned so much from his maybe acquaintances, as like his, you know, people that he trained. So it's just something that I enjoyed the most, and it made it easier for me to learn so much from Mahale, to the point that in the beginning I was like, I didn't know enough about the trees and, you know, plants of Mahale, but I had to make efforts getting to learn from his former colleagues, his students, and later on now, which is sometimes made me laugh, is if people find difficulty to identify a plant in Mahale, they always come down to me. Even the researchers and senior researchers, when they find a plant that they cannot tell what it is, they'll always come down to me and say, Butati, can you tell us what it is? And I'm like, come on, I learned from you. How is it now that you're coming to learn from me? And in the beginning, some people felt like I was crazy, because I'll go out in the forest and I'll come with a big pile of different segment of trees, like maybe small twigs, small branches, you know, fruits, flowers, and I'll come down at the research camp and say, okay, find one of the senior researchers and say, come on, can you help me identify this? So every time they see me coming with a big pile, they say, oh, here's him again. But that made me improve my knowledge on the plants, and now I know so many plants that exist here in Mahale, and I keep on learning. That's my inspiration. I want to learn more and more about Mahale. People think like I know so much, but I feel like I still want to know more. There's still a lot of things that I don't know, and I'm always happy to admit that this is something I don't know, but I also aspire to learn about it.
That's so exciting. So you've really built your experience through these forests, even as a kid, walking through here. And do you remember your first experience with the gym?
Yeah, I remember, and that was a very funny experience. This is the one that I remember, but one among those, before this one, the other one was whenever they come into camp and there's a metal house around, chimpanzees will always go and bang on those metal houses. So that's one of my favorite memories. But the other memory was it was the time when they were still giving them sugarcane and the banana, and I don't remember what age I was, but maybe not more than 5 or 6. And that day the chimpanzees came down to our camp. So our parents took us out, and they were holding to us to make sure we don't get in trouble with the chimpanzees. Back in that time, there was no strict rules, like you cannot bring the kids out to see the chimpanzees and the likes. So they had some pieces of sugarcane. They chopped the sugarcane into small bits, and they were just throwing them out. And chimpanzees, little did I know that they live in a pecking order, and it's a clear-cut pecking order. So if anything is, given out, it has to be starting with sequentially, with the very top individual to the very bottom individual. So the big guys has to be the first one to get whatever is given out, and the subordinates has to wait until the big guys have had enough for them to get an opportunity. So that day, I remember one of the names was Lukaja, chimpanzee called the Lukaja. I don't remember who else was there. But when they give them out the sugar canes bits, I think Lukaja went for most of it, and he was subordinate. So when this, the superior came in, and he was upset by the behavior that was displayed by Lukaja. So what he did, he just punished him by grabbing him by his neck, pulled him down, and he just hit him hard on his back, to the point that Lukaja, he just, shitted. And it was like he had a diarrhea, and it just shoot out into one of the nearby bushes. So that's the memory I'll never forget. And I was like, how the hell, if that's a fellow chimpanzee that was being beaten that way, what if it was us human beings who we are not that strong? So that's one among my very early experiences.
Jeepers, that's
yeah.
So they're quite aggressive chimps, eh?
Exactly, yeah, they can be super aggressive, but there should be a reason for them to be aggressive. And sometimes it's a bit about showing off, like trying to make a statement, especially for dominant individuals. As an alpha, he's always receiving a lot of challenges. So the best way for him to do is to prevent him being challenged by making a statement to all others around that he is a beast in that way, by just sometimes bullying unnecessary like innocent individuals, or just displaying, putting up on a display, just making some havoc, where everyone will be like, oh, so they have to pull back and think twice before they make an attempt. But for others who are also challenging, they also need to show what they got in their locker, but they cannot directly go and confront the alpha male unless they notice that he's just getting weaker, or he's not getting the support from his ally like he used to get in the past. So as an alpha, he needs to make sure that his ally is happy and dedicated to supporting his moves. If he doesn't, sometimes he has to force him to support him. But also, these are the guys who are just challenging him. They need also to make efforts to and up their games so that they can just bring him down. So it's a matter of like constantly challenging, constantly displaying the dominance, and to put out a word that I am the boss and I will be the boss for a much longer.
Okay. Wow, I've only spent a lot of time with baboons once with my dad in the Takai forests in Cape Town, South Africa. And I never forget, the experience of filming the baboons was incredibly interesting, because the behavior, you really see it in human beings. Do you see quite a lot of like characteristics that humans and chimps have, and even emotionally? Have you picked up on a lot?
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, and there are some like outstanding emotions, incidents, like for example, not the one that I will just, but I'll bring one from Mahale, and this has to do with babies, especially babies when they are being weaned by their moms. And now with the current situation, we have a female called Zantip, who is very much like, I would say, like an African woman, who we are not that good when it comes to family planning and child dispersing, because for African women, most of them, they don't have at least the current generation, who they get exposed to education and being mostly in the cities. But in most cases, males are the one dictating on when and how many kids they can get. Women don't have much of a decision, so it mostly has to do with men. And that way, you'll find out like many of the women's, they've got kids every after 2 years or so. For chimpanzees, the child dispersing normally is 5 to 6 years. But Zantip is very much every after 3 years, then they get another baby. So it end up with the older baby who was being taken care by the mom before the mom get another baby. They are not old enough to be able to take care of themselves, so they are still dependent on their moms. So like this current baby from Zantip, who has got no name yet because he has not reached the age to get a name. So you can see he's emotionally very down, like very low, like broken down, and he is like, every time the mother sits on one place, you'll see him going all the way down to just lie on the ground and not being active unless the brother comes in to interact with him, but he will be very much on the ground. And when the mom is ready to go, he will have to to tap the baby, like, come on, it's the time to go. But the baby is not as active, as happy as a baby could be of his same age, who has got no other baby after him. So that's one among the emotional incidents that we see. But even to some of the elders, especially if they've lost the position or they get beaten by someone, afterward you'll see them emotionally like crouching, and you can feel their sadness. But one other incident is from Gombe, where an old mother had a 6-year-old son who was so attached to the mother that when the mother died, the old mother died, that baby was emotionally broken to the point that he grieved for almost 7 days without eating, without drinking, and then the 6-year-old son died of grieving. So like he died of mourning from the death of his mother. There's countless cases that we have here, and yeah, so.
Do you ever find that your emotions get tied up with the chimps?
Of course, like we are so emotionally attached to the chimpanzees that even when we have a chimpanzee that is very, very bad, like those were very, very bad chimpanzees, like bad behaving chimpanzees, that the fellow chimpanzees that doesn't like them, even ourselves, we don't like them. Still, if anything bad happens to them, we feel like we've lost someone dear and near. It's just like when you have a relative, a terrible relative, that you will be like, oh, he's a bad person, but you don't want them dead. So you want them maybe to be taught a lesson in a very, very a good lesson, but you don't want to see them dead. So here in Mahale, we had an alpha male from 2008 to 2011, and he was brutally killed by his colleagues. He was so bad that and very evil that he was raping his own mom, and he just raped his own mom. He was brutal. He killed one adult male chimpanzee who was forming an alliance with his main rival, and so he managed to organize a killing of that individual. I don't think it was a direct killing, but he just inflicted a lot of wounds that they became infected, and that individual died. So we consider that he was very much behind the murder, the killing of that chimpanzee, but also raping his own mom, and he just caused half blindness to his mother. So for them, they've got a taboo incest. They cannot mate with their own mothers, they cannot mate with their sisters or with their uncles. But for him to force his mother, that was very, very wrong and very unusual. As an alpha male or a son, whenever the son goes high up in the pecking order, that has to do with the mother of that son becoming, enjoying a very luxurious life, receiving all the protection from the son. Even if the son becomes the alpha, you don't expect that sort of formalities when the two encounter, because once an individual becomes an alpha, every other member of the community has to be respectful to the alpha by being giving salutation to the alpha. They have to come out and say, like, it's just like in the military. The army general, every other soldier has to salute the army general. So same thing with the chimpanzees. Once they become an alpha, every other male chimpanzees, females, youngsters have to pay respect. So if even the baby is being carried by the mom, if the mom comes to pay salutation to the alpha male, the baby as well, you'll hear the baby making a sound, just also to salute the alpha. But if it's the mother and son, you don't see these formalities. So it has to be the baby, the mother going there casually interacting with the baby, with the son. But for Pimu, it was completely different. Pimu was forcing his own mom to be submissive. Whenever they encounter, the sister has to be submissive. So he was to the point that even to us human observers, we didn't like him, because if you want to spend some time with Pimu, he will try to turn his back against you. There's been very few pictures of Pimu, because if he sees you trying to get a picture, he will just put his arm across his face, so that, like pretending to groom someone else, for you not to be able to capture his face. And if he's just walking down the trail and maybe you are just on the one side of the trail hoping he's gonna walk right in front of you, he either go off into the bush and pop out to the other side, or sometimes run down at a very fast speed that you don't even have time to take a picture of him. So in 3.5 years time as an alpha, they managed to gang attack him, and they tortured him for like 3 hours before they killed him. So first of all, they went for his Achilles, rip off his Achilles, and they just tore his biceps, so that he was like, they were like immobilizing him. And then routinely they just continued, like they had a series of attacks up to 3 hours. They broke his canine, they just rip him apart, and it's like there was fresh wounds everywhere, deep wounds. And after 3 hours, they decided to put him to an end. So they killed him. And we were very, very sad about his death. Although we wanted him to be taught a lesson, but we never wanted him dead.
Sure, that was just another branch for me. Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That story. I think it was quite immersive into sort of chimp dynamics.
Yeah.
And you know, it's I mean, I saw them this morning. I saw a little baby, and they almost look like human babies. You know, like so cute and just climbing up and down the mom. It was really, really great to see the family dynamic of the chimps. And how many other species of monkeys are there, or primate? It's the chimps and the red collar.
Yeah, so here in Mahale we have chimpanzees, we have red colobus monkeys, we have red-tailed monkeys, we have blue monkeys, vervet monkey, and yellow baboon. So at least 6 species. And also we have Angolan black and white colobus monkey, which are very high up in the mountains. And we have 3 species of nocturnal primates. These are bush babies. So the one is large-eared Greta bush baby, or Greta galago, silver in color, but quite a good size. Others are smaller in size, like the Senegal or Laser galago, but as well as one of the dwarf species of galago, which we are yet to find out what it is. So researchers, we had some primatologists who tried to discover what species of that galago would be. So all these monkeys, with an exception of Angolan black and white colobus monkeys, can easily be seen in the lower part of the forest. Yellow baboon and vervet monkey are mostly within the camp perimeters and close to the shoreline. Red-tailed monkeys as well, sometimes they come close to the shoreline, but these are very much more arboreal in comparison to other monkey species. And blue monkeys are also very much arboreal. So these 3, red-tailed monkey, blue monkey, and red colobus monkey, they are mostly arboreal. Rarely they will come down to the ground. But the yellow baboon and vervet monkey are mostly on the ground. So that's why they are very much more in the camp, within the camps, yeah.
And are any of those mammals endemic to this region?
Yes, like the blue monkey, it's an endemic subspecies of blue monkey, so it's called the Mahale silver monkey. And the Angolan black and white colobus monkey is also another endemic subspecies of Angolan black and white colobus monkey that's only in Mahale. They are completely isolated from anywhere, from any nearby population of Angolan colobus monkey. The red colobus monkey is the subspecies of East Africa. It's called the ash red colobus monkeys, or East African red colobus monkey, which is only in Uganda, Rwanda, and maybe some parts of Tanzania.
Okay.
Yeah.
So huge diversity.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't remember if you mentioned the cichlids.
Yes.
Of the river. Those are also the endemic.
Exactly.
Fish.
Yeah. Cichlids. 98% of all the cichlids that we have in Lake Tanganyika are endemic to Lake Tanganyika.
That's a fish, right? Just
Yeah.
to be clear to everyone.
Yeah. So that's fishy.
Yeah.
So that's you are talking about more than 200 different species of cichlids, and
amazing,
98 of them is like it's more than 190. So it's just so much than most other places that we have. And that's just the side of the cichlids, but the other families of fishes, like tigerfish, pufferfish, eels, sardines, and perch. So we have 2 species of sardines, freshwater sardines, which are endemic to the lake. 4 species of perch that are endemic to the lake. So within this group also there are roughly 150 different species, and out of them as well, more than 80% are endemic to the lake. So you are talking about more than 300 species of fishes that are endemic to Lake Tanganyika.
Oh, so there's a huge
Yeah.
preserving. I mean, Earth has done a lot of evolving in this part of the world. Hey?
Yeah.
And Tanganyika is Tanzania's second largest. Wait, so Lake Victoria.
Lake Tanganyika. In terms of surface area, Lake Victoria is the largest in the continent. But when it comes to the world at large, Lake Tanganyika ranks second in terms of depth, which its deepest point is 1,470 meters.
Have they ever gone down there? Have people
No
gone
one
down?
has ever been down there. You know, that's a very expensive research for someone to send the equipment that will go down all the way. But they've been able to just use the tools to measure the depth, but also they've been using tools to send down. Recently there was a team that came in to get water from the bottom and go to do analysis. So I haven't been able to get hold of the paper that they published, the report from that excursion. And yeah, when it comes to length, Lake Tanganyika is the longest lake in the world, with a length of about 673 kilometers.
Yeah, it's a bit like Lake Malawi, where it's like long.
Yeah, Malawi looks longer, but still Lake Tanganyika is longer than Malawi.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Lake Tanganyika is way bigger than Malawi in so many ways, volume-wise, depth-wise, you know, length-wise, even width. The average width within Lake Tanganyika is 50 kilometers across. Some places even about 80 kilometers across from one side of the lake to another.
And it's bordered by Congo.
Congo to the west, which is covers roughly the 50% of the surface area of the lake. Burundi north, 8%. Tanzania to the west covers about 45% of the surface area of the lake, and Zambia to the south only 5%. So Burundi and Zambia have got the smallest portion of the lake. The biggest portion of the lake is within Congo and Tanzania.
How did people regulate activities on the lake?
There is a board, like an organization that was created by these four countries that regulate and monitor and manage the use and utilization of the resources in the lake, of which now recently they've just came up with the decision, and that started from May. So to close the lake for 3 months for fishing activities. So that temporarily stop will come to an end by August 15th. Then they will start doing some activities on the lake again.
Okay, so we've dived into the social, some of the ecological systems of this wonderful part of the world. I mean, visually, it's stunning. I mean, just that idea of the deep lake and the big trees next to it with the monkeys jumping, it's so hard to, I mean, if people's imagination can just imagine what that looks like. Hopefully we'll be making a film on some of this in the future, but what a stunning place. Just to kind of get towards the end of this conversation, I'd just love to hear from you just a little bit about working with Nomad and working with a guide, and just what can people know about visiting this part of the world?
Yeah, so for me, with my 15 years of being around Mahale, just working wise, but I was born and grew up around this place. I've seen a lot of development and changes that are happening inside the park and outside the park, and it's one of those beautiful wilderness and unique habitat, unique ecological areas that you don't get over it. You don't have enough of it. Once you set your foot inside this area, you feel like you don't want to leave. You want to stay forever. It's like heaven on earth, and it's so valuable that, to me, I say most of the places, videos or pictures exaggerate the beauty of the places. But to me, what I say to the world is video or pictures don't do justice to this place. you need to be here physically to see it, to be able to appreciate it. Because to most of the people, pictures deceive them. But once they get here, they're like, no, it looks very different from how it appears on the picture, because it looks more beautiful when you are here physically. I was born and grew up here. You would have expected me to be bored being around here. But every time I wake up early in the morning, go out in this forest, interact with the chimpanzees, and see the beauty of the lake, seeing the sunset of the amazing water of Lake Tanganyika. It's like a reflection, it's like a mirror reflecting the sunbeam, the red sun as they disappear into the mountains in the Congo. All this, it's a very unique combination that words cannot do it justice unless you see it yourself. It's something that you cannot easily explain by your words unless you are here and you appreciate it and you soak it in. So I'm so glad that I was born and grew up here and I'm working here. And it's something that always keep me waking up early in the morning and just go out and say I need to just appreciate this place a lot more and more.
Wow, that's yeah, I couldn't agree more. Hey? My camera has been working as hard as it can to try and capture this beauty, and it's just impossible. So yeah, thanks for those words. Is there any sort of quote or saying from your culture, you could say it in your own language, or just anything that you would want to share, just to kind of share a little bit about something?
Not so sure. We use mostly Swahili. As for me, I'm mostly proficient in Swahili and English. I do a little bit of my native language, the Tongwe. I can only hear when people speak. I can only pick a very few words. But maybe I can say something in Swahili. Uzuri wa eneo hili, nafikiri si wa kulinganishwa na sehemu nyingine yoyote. Najua watu wengi wanakwenda maeneo tofauti tofauti, lakini linapokuja swala la eneo hili ni la kipekee kabisa. Yani siwezi kufananisha na sehemu nyingine yoyote, kwa sababu sio tu viumbe waliopo, yani mtazamo tu wa eneo zima kwa ujumla ni kwamba Mungu alilipendelea ile eneo kuliko maeneo mengine. So to me in English is like the beauty of this place, you cannot compare it with anywhere else. It's just like God was so biased to this place that he made this place unbelievably beautiful, in that you can't put it in words. It's just like doing it injustice, trying to put it in words, how beautiful the place is.
Wow. So is that what you said in Swahili?
Yeah.
Magic, eh?
It's magic. It's magical.
I wish, I'm very English, eh? I'm traveling through Southern Africa. I've picked up Zikomo and thank you, and Malawi, and Merci beaucoup, and Congo, and Asante Sana,
in Swahili.
In Swahili, these very basic words, and I just love all the different African language, and wish I could speak a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yes, I just wanted to say thank you so much for sort of spending the time sharing this. Is there anything you might want to point towards, like with Nomad? Nomad is the company you work for.
Yeah.
How many camps do they have?
Yeah, so Nomad has got like roughly maybe 10 camps in Tanzania. We have one here in Mahale, next one in Katavi National Park, which is like 45 minutes flight from here to Katavi. There's the next one down from here to if you fly from here to there, Ruaha National Park, there's a camp called Kigelia. The one in Katavi is called Ichada Katavi. There's one down by Sun River where they've got like 2 camps. The main camp and like a private camp, which is, they call it Kiba Point. So the main camp is Sun River Selous. Also, to me, that's my second favorite camp because it's just on the edge, like on the bank of River Rufiji. So it has got an amazing view, and the hippos will always be there at night. You get the sound of the hippos. The rooms are much more open. The design is very basic but super beautiful. Then there's Akuro in Tarangire, up north. They've got an Intamanu camp on the crater rim. And also they've got 2 mobile camps, which they want to make one as a permanent. And they also have Lamai in the Serengeti. So these are some of the camps.
Well, that's pretty much everything. Hey? Thank you. Thanks so much again for everything this afternoon. I really appreciate the chat. It's been awesome. To the listeners of the Keystone expedition, thank you if you got it all the way as far, and this is now, I think, the 5th or the 6th podcast. And yeah, I'm doing this all sort of self-financed as I travel Africa, and building content along the way, but building sort of value in these podcasts. Well, it's just an easier thing to produce than a film. So if you see value in this podcast, please share it around, send it to friends and family that you think would want to learn more about Mahale and about the chimps and the social systems surrounding that. Give it a little rate on the show if you liked it, and yeah, that's all I can really ask for at this point. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Karibu sana in Swahili.
Cheers for now.
Yeah.
Ciao.